Some engines break down before they even hit 500,000 miles. Others, they cross states, borders, and decades without ever needing a rebuild. These aren't just engines, they're legends. And today, I'm going to show you the 6 most reliable truck engines ever built. Machines so tough, so unkillable, some of them literally ran over 3 million miles without being opened. Now, if you love trucks, engines, or just good stories from the road, this video was made for you. But before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment below telling me your favorite engine, and make sure you subscribe to the channel Trucks Life TM. Here, it's always diesel in the veins and rubber on the road. In this video, we're not just listing engines. We're talking about real machines with real history. The ones mechanics still swear by. The ones that kept hauling when everything else fell apart. The ones that helped build America's highways and freight lines, and never asked for much in return, except a little oil and a lot of respect. From old-school iron blocks to electronically tuned beasts, we'll look at what made these engines so reliable. I'll tell you stories from truckers who've driven them, fleets that still use them, and the details under the hood that make all the difference. So tighten your straps, because we're hitting the road. Coming up first, 2 engines that redefined reliability. One made by Cummins, the other by Detroit Diesel. Both of them earned their place in trucking history, and they're just getting started. When it comes to engine reliability, 2 names dominate every truck stop conversation in America: Cummins and Detroit Diesel. These powerhouses didn't just push freight, they pushed limits, and they did it for millions of miles. Let's start with the Cummins N14. Produced from the early 1990s up through the early 2000s, the N14 wasn't just built, it was overbuilt. This inline 6-cylinder, 14-liter beast became famous for its mechanical simplicity and its sheer ability to keep going. Unlike newer models filled with complex electronics, the N14 struck a perfect balance between early digital control and old-school durability. Truckers loved it. Mechanics loved it. Fleets trusted it. Take this story from a veteran out of Amarillo, Texas. He ran the same Cummins N14 for over 1.8 million miles before the head ever had to come off. That's over 2 decades of cross-country hauls, mountain passes, and endless hours of idling in the cold. What finally took it down? A cracked injector cup, nothing catastrophic, and the bottom end was still solid as steel. That's the kind of reliability you don't forget. But if the Cummins N14 was the king of muscle, then the Detroit Diesel Series 60 was the king of innovation. Released in the late 1980s, the Series 60 was one of the first fully electronically controlled heavy-duty engines in the United States. With a 12.7 or 14-liter inline 6-cylinder design, this engine changed the game. Why did people trust it? It combined durability with smart efficiency. Mechanics who understood how to care for it said it could go well past 1 million miles without a rebuild, as long as you stayed on top of your oil changes. And that wasn't just talk. Fleet after fleet documented the same thing: low downtime, low cost, and high return on investment. One trucking company in the Midwest even had over 50 Detroit Diesel Series 60 units that each surpassed 1.2 million miles before needing any serious attention. And here's the thing, this engine wasn't just tough, it was serviceable. Parts were easy to find, diagnostics were simple, and even with its electronic brain, it still had a heart built for abuse. Now, let's break down why these 2 engines stood the test of time. First, parts availability. Even today, You can walk into salvage yards or call up suppliers and find components for the N14 and Series 60 without breaking the bank. That keeps older rigs running and repairs affordable. Second, design philosophy. Both engines were built during a golden era, before emissions regulations forced manufacturers to prioritize compliance over longevity. These were engines designed to last, not just pass. And finally, reputation. Truckers are a tight-knit community. When something works, word spreads fast. That's how both the N14 and Series 60 became legends. They didn't need flashy marketing. Their reliability spoke louder than any ad ever could. So, which one's better? Well, that depends who you ask. Some swear by the deep rumble and raw torque of the Cummins. Others trust the smooth pull and efficiency of the Detroit. But one thing's for sure, they both earned their place in the Engine Hall of Fame. But don't think the story ends there, because up next, we're going deeper. We'll look at an engine that refused to die even after its manufacturer left the trucking world, and another that was built like a tank for construction sites, but found its way onto long-haul highways. Some of these engines are still running today, silently proving their worth, mile after mile. Not every legendary engine came from the obvious places. Some were born in factories that no longer build truck engines. Others were designed for construction work and ended up hauling freight across the country. And a few quietly crossed oceans and built reputations far from home. Let's start with the Caterpillar 3406E, the last great highway engine from Cat before they exited the on-road truck market in the mid-2000s. This 14.6-liter inline six-cylinder diesel was known for its brute strength and long-term reliability. It wasn't the lightest, and it wasn't the most fuel-efficient. But when it came to raw durability, it was nearly unmatched. Fleet owners trusted it. Independent operators loved it. Mechanics respected it. With proper maintenance, it wasn't rare for the 3406E to pass 1.5 million miles without major issues. In fact, some say Cat only stopped producing it because emissions standards became more important than engine life. To this day, you'll still find older Peterbilts and Kenworths with this block under the hood, still earning their keep. Then there's the Mack E7, a rugged, no-nonsense engine built for hard work. Originally developed for vocational trucks, dumpers, mixers, and severe-duty applications, the E7 surprised the industry by becoming a favorite among regional haulers. Why? It could take a beating. With its straightforward design, strong casting, and solid cooling system, it was an engine that didn't flinch at long hours or short shifts. Drivers who ran Macks with the E7 often say it was the engine that just refused to die. Stories of rigs with over 1 million miles still pulling weight without a rebuild are common. And while it didn't have the glamour of a Cummins or a Detroit, it had one thing that mattered more: consistency. Now, for a quick look at the unexpected heroes, European diesels like the Volvo D13 and the Mercedes OM460. While not as celebrated in the American scene, certain versions of these engines gained a loyal following. With careful maintenance, drivers have reported engines surpassing 1.2 million miles, quietly proving that precision engineering can stand the test of time. They're not the loudest in the pack, but they're part of the conversation when reliability is what matters. And speaking of what really matters, let's wrap this up. Because when it comes to engines that made a difference, it's not just about torque and horsepower, it's about trust. And every trucker knows, trust is built mile after mile, year after year. Engines come and go. Some roar for a while and vanish. Others leave a mark so deep, you still hear their hum in the back of your mind long after they've shut off. The ones we talked about today, Cummins, Detroit, Cat, Mack, Volvo, Mercedes aren't just machines. They're memories, they're stories, they're trust forged in steel and tested over millions of miles. Because out here, it's not just about specs. It's about what gets you home, what survives the mountain passes, the freezing nights, the lonely highways. So tell me, what engine earned your trust? Which one let you down? Drop your story in the comments. And if this video brought back a memory, hit that like button and subscribe to Trucks Life. Chattem. We've got more coming, more machines, more legends, more truth from the open road. Until then, keep it between the lines and respect the engine that never quit.